we are go. Episode 2 of the Mono e Mono podcast, where I go Mono e Mono with Gary Fox. Just to let you guys know, this is actually the second attempt at this.
Episode 2, version 2.
Yes. We were together this day, no, it was Friday last week, I believe. Was it Friday?
Yeah, Friday last week.
On Gary's abode, his humble abode, which was a lovely barge in Grand Canal Dock, which we can talk about again a little bit. And today we've met up again. The reason why, I won't get into it too much, but let's just say there was technical difficulties and the original episode, it no longer exists.
Slightly awkward. Legal reasons.
Yeah, it's a bit like the Tenacious D, you know, the greatest song in the world. It's not, this podcast is going to be close, but it's us talking about the greatest
the
podcast.
one that was the greatest.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
I get you now, I'm with you.
So we're here in the Central Hotel in Temple Bar, in the Library Bar in Dublin City, for any of our foreign listeners, which is my first time here actually. And it's
a great spot. Really, really good. Very quiet. Really old kind of school stuff. It's a great little spot right in the city. Not many people use it.
As you said earlier on, if you want people to think you're balling.
Yeah, if you want people to think you're balling when you've actually no money, bring them here.
Old money.
Old money. It looks like old money.
So, Gary, as anyone listens to this, I kind of started this podcast to record the journey of the development of Limor, the Limor app, because I meet some really interesting people along the way, from, be it sport, influencers, and business. And I wanted to try and talk to those people and record those stories, and you're one of those people.
I feel honoured, Shane.
Yeah, well, I'm delighted.
I was trying to pick myself out in that lineup there.
Wait, why are you talking to me?
And others.
And
we've got a filler week this week.
Yeah, tell you the truth, the guy I had lined up just pulled out last minute. So, the reason I wanted to talk to you was I first met you when we did Wimp to Warrior together, which is over 2 years ago now.
Scary. Yeah,
the third series actually just started this week, which is mental. How quickly time flies, and we get on very well. And we kept in touch since, and I'd like to think that we're friends.
We'll just leave it as acquaintances, Shane, maybe for now.
Yeah.
Don't get too keen.
Okay, but like you, one thing I got to know about your personality: you're extremely hardworking guy, very mentally strong, and when I learned a bit more about you, your background and what you've actually done in your life, I was really impressed by, and I that's why I wanted to talk to you, so that you can tell the people of Limor what you've done. And
I'm rapidly trying to go back through my my life history to find out stuff that matches that. So
and humble as well.
I vaguely remember my script from last week.
So, like, especially on the business side of it, because as well as the personalities and stuff, I'm on a business journey of my own, entrepreneurial journey. I'm learning new lessons every single day, and you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think we're at similar kind of junctions, and we both have kind of similar mindsets to how we approach things. I think that's why we hit it off. Very similar mentalities as well, but just got a similar point in our lives in terms of trying to build businesses and just being very open about that, and just kind of trying to work with people as well, trying to meet as many people as we can. I think that's the key thing, trying to be open about it as well.
Yeah, and that's a good way of a good segue, as I say, to get into that. So if you can give the people listening a little intro to who you are, your background, what's your experience in business? Yeah,
so at the moment I run Host Butlers, which is a management company for Airbnb properties in Dublin City. So we've 40 properties all around the city. We manage them, so effectively we make sure that we take over the properties from the hosts, make sure that everything is done for them. We manage everything from start to finish, from the guest arriving to the guest leaving to cleaning to turnovers. We charge 20% of the nightly rate for that, and then the rest goes to the host. It's kind of a modern day property management company, and that is 2.5 years old. So just actually during Wimp to Warrior, that's when I started working on it. Started, as we talked about last week, I started working on that, but bought and renovated the barge and did Wimp to Warrior at the same time. So it was kind of a crazy 6 months. I suppose to go back and give you the kind of story of how it all started. When I was in school, I started just part-time job working in a phone shop, and it was kind of the go-go days. Again, to show my age, it was back when mobile phones were starting out. Even saying this now is making me go, don't say too much. But when mobile phones were starting out, Aircell was big. People were getting their first phone. It was kind of the big thing to have a phone. They were affordable, they were accessible, and literally it was an amazing time. Like literally, you could not keep the phones going quick enough. You were just selling like maybe 200-300 phones a day. So it's just crazy. And from that, I started just offering little services in my own spare time. So I'd repair the phones, I'd put in new screens. I bought in this machine from the UK that would unlock the phones. Even, we all remember like being locked to like Meteor or 087 or 086 and people were switching SIM cards around. And that was kind of my first kind of entrepreneurial stuff, really. That's what got me into it. Before that, I kind of really didn't even know what one was. Luckily enough, I ended up working for that guy who owned the phone shop, and he was just a super entrepreneur in the truest sense. He just knew instinctively what to do. He just wanted to be an entrepreneur. So from him, I learned a huge amount, and that kind of put me on the journey then of like starting my own thing. So I did that on the sideline for a couple of years. Then we started doing the markets, started doing like the Sunday markets, getting up at 5 a.m, traveling to the market, selling phones, accessories, spares all day. And then from that, I bounced that into college and started it in college. Did a deal with the Students' Union, just open up a shop in the Students' Union. And like we just did great business. Like it was one of the things that made us was that year Bank of Ireland offered a free phone. It shows you it was just during the last go-go days. It was like if you opened up a bank account, you got a free phone. So literally, people would walk next door to Bank of Ireland and got a free phone, and they'd come into me, and I'd unlock it for them for 20 quid.
Wow!
Like we did thousands, like literally thousands of the phones, and so put myself through college doing that. I had loads of other little ventures on the side, bits and pieces. I was always kind of doing something, just new ideas. And then from that, I kind of briefly bounced back out into the traditional world. Decided to go get a real job. I think it was just too easy. I think we talked about that the last time as to why I left being an entrepreneur. I think not that it had come too easy. Like I work hard, whatever I do, I work hard at it. But I just had never known a different world to it. I'd always been working for myself effectively. And I was only like 21, 22, so I felt I needed to go and learn how to be a businessman, which in hindsight, if I jumped in the time machine, I'd just like to continue. Because experience is overrated. Being honest, the only experience is just going out and doing it yourself. You go into companies and everything moves so slowly, and you realize the more you're in business, the more you realize how little other people know as well.
Yeah.
Everyone's making it up as they go along, as astute as everyone wants to be, and give the impression and the veneer on social media that they got it all figured out.
I think I suppose the way you phrase that is manufactured experience over on the oral experience.
Define what your experience is. Like some people want that experience of the 9 to 5, learn the procedures, processes, and you do need a bit of that. You do need. Later in my career, I did go back and go into like a tech company with a lot of processes and procedures, which I took an awful lot from. You need to learn how to work. It's like going to college to learn how to learn. I think you'll need to learn how to work effectively. So if you are an entrepreneur, I think it's important to get outside help as well. So whether that's a partner or that's a supplier or someone you work with closely, just to get their experience as well. It's like me and you meeting up and just sharing how you work, how I work. It doesn't matter the industry, it's just ways of working. Everyone's always looking for the silver bullet of, 5 top tips to be an entrepreneur in the morning.
You're actually writing one of those books.
Yeah, I shamelessly plug myself on Medium all the time. And I try to write that, but so I'm writing 12 articles at the minute, documenting my first 12 months of starting Hostbuilders. So from day one up until the 365 day, documenting everything from just the nitty gritty of all the mistakes I made, but the actual real processes I put in place, like how I did this, how I figured out my first customer, how I made balls and things, all this sort of stuff, rather than we're all looking for, and social media is kind of giving us this idea of like the quick fix. You lash a photo up on Instagram, gets 100 likes, that's great and all, but what's it doing for your actual business? Probably fuck all, being honest. I think we're still in the age of that. People are still in the age of likes and kind of things like that, and kind of getting obsessed with that. But actually, it's just about getting on and doing it. Moving the needle, as much as I hate that fucking phrase, but just actually buying something for €1, selling it for €2. That's just the only way to be an entrepreneur, is just to start. I think you asked me last week, what's your tip for being an entrepreneur? And it was just to do something. Loads of people I meet, and I'm sure you're the same, they're like, oh yeah, really want to have my own business. It's my goal. And you're like, okay, I'm with you so far. And they're like, but what do I need to do? And everyone's like looking for that secret sauce, that Willy Wonka ticket. And you're like, you just started.
Yeah.
How I started Host Builders was when I was working, I'd get up in the morning 30 minutes early, and I had a 30-minute commute in on the Lewis, and I'd literally work on my laptop for 30 minutes on the way in. And then I'd work at lunchtime for another 30 minutes. That's an hour a day. Like, over the course of a week, that's 5 hours. Like, that's a work day in itself. If you cut out all the fucking around on Facebook, that's a work day. So I was doing a work day a week on the new business while I was still working the old job. And that's what I did. I just built the website and said, right, if I can get 1 or 2 customers, it might be a business. And if I can get enough to actually pay me a wage, then it's a business. And as soon as I had enough to transition out, I'd quit the old job and just move straight into the new business. And just experimented with it. Like, I didn't want to. My first startup, to jump back in the time machine again, the first proper startup, again, I hate that term startup because it's got just kind of diluted by everyone kind of just getting government money and just blowing it up against the wall, which we did on the first startup. That's what we did. So I went back to do a master's in e-commerce. And from that, I spun out my final project with 2 of my classmates into a startup. And we actually secured funding and placed an accelerator program even before we'd done our final exams or anything. So that was like, gold. Thought we'd hit jackpot, I thought that was now the new way things were done, whereas all my other businesses had been cash generating, buy it for 1, sell for 2. This was more kind of like we're developing a video marketplace, which probably 60 years ago was far too early. Now, that's not the reason we failed. We failed because we just made an absolute bollocks of it. To be honest, we made every single cliched mistake we could. Didn't have the tech in-house, spent too long thinking about it, not executing. All the obvious stuff that I'm telling everyone now, go and just get on with it.
Procrastination.
Procrastination, but in like a structured way, if you know what I mean. When you're in an accelerator program, it's procrastination, but it feels like you're doing great. Oh, it's part of the program. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Just keep going. And it was just, we literally got some seed money, blew through it in a space of like 12 months, and then just ran out of road. Spent a huge amount of our own personal money on it. And it failed effectively. I remember we had to axe one co-founder. We literally had to sit him down and go, "You're out. It's over for you." Like a shit X Factor, effectively. Like,
How did that go?
Horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible, and being honest, we never spoke again.
Really?
Yeah. I know. I do regret that. I regret how I handled that, and I just was naive. I just handled it really badly, but it was like a desperation move. Me and Jen, my co-founder, were like, right, it's just not happening. We've got to do what we can here to try and make it work. And there'd been some issues in the company, and we're like, right, if we're going to have any shot at making this work, we have to get rid. And we sat him down, and it was horrible. It was an absolute, imagine the worst breakup you've ever had.
Right.
And it was just, it was terrible. And we never spoke again, and we were quite close. We were friends, very good friends at the time. And then it was just me and Jen, and we did everything we could to make it work. We did everything. We even went back. A great college lecturer of ours, Theo Lynn in DCU, just a genius. He brought us back into DCU, and we worked in there on projects and kind of worked under him to try get any kind of revenue going to try and make it survive. But it was in the death rattle. You were just giving CPR to someone that passed away 3 weeks ago. Plugging away one more time and just plugging away, and it was just dead. And I think the life had gone out of us for it as well, because we knew we just had missed. Every business has an inflection point of whether it's going to sink or fail, and it can be luck, it can be timing. It'll be one of those things, but if you miss that, nothing's bringing you back. You're just gonzoed. So we shut that down, and we were broke, busted flush, no money. We both owed loads of money personally from just pumping money. Like, we'd worked without a salary for the guts of, including the masters, maybe 2.5, 3 years. So as you know, when you're starting out a business working with no salary is
eating out of bean cans.
Pretty, the old cliche, cocoa noodles, blah, 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 boo-hoo, cry me a river. You chose to do it. But it was a stinger. You're like, oh, Jesus, and your confidence takes a massive hit as well. So we were like, Christ, what do we do now? So we were like, we'd loads of ideas for new startups. Like we just had tons, but just we were both wrecked, just burned out completely on the startup world, and just sick of the startup world as well. I was just so fed up with it. I was just surrounded by people who were running zombie companies, just waiting for the next government handout for like 50k to get them through next year. And I was like, nah, I'm not doing that anymore. So I went back and worked for a large tech firm, and learned a lot from them. Went back and did sales, which I just see the joys of podcasting, like dragging chairs up the stairs there. Went back and did sales, which I hated, really hated, because it was over the phone, it was by email, but learned a massive amount, and more importantly, learned the processes and kind of learned what I didn't want to do. Learned that I didn't want to be a salesperson, didn't want to be back in that world again, and kind of let me recharge my batteries and my bank account.
Yeah.
So from that, then started Hostbuilder. So that's and now we're here.
And get into that. I suppose you had a little period of time where you were involved in journalism and photography.
Yeah. So it's been a long road.
Yeah.
To get to the library bar, Shane. That was so. What's the easiest way to get into this? So I also did a master's in journalism. I should be a doctor by now.
Yeah.
I spent so much time in colleges. So did a master's in journalism. More so interested in kind of the new media side of things. Did a master's in journalism. This chap came in to give us. It was just pure random. I'd always been into photography a little bit, but never really so I just not massive market for photography down in Tipperary. So I just was kind of into it. And then this guest lecturer came in, Niall Carson from Press Association. He just won Press Photographer of the Year. Came in and gave us a cracking guest lecture on how he works and everything. And I was just like, best way to learn is just by doing. So I was like, do you mind if I come out with you for 2 weeks? I'll work for nothing. Just teach me what you know. Show me how it's done. And I think it was the second day we went to the horse show, and I got a picture in the paper, and it was just like a drug. It was just like that immediate. I think it tapped into the entrepreneur in me. It was just that immediate.
What stage was this now? Was this after the phone situation?
This was after the phone situation. Before the other startup. Yeah. So this was in between those times, and from that I just got the drug of press. It was as close you can be as an entrepreneur without being an entrepreneur in the traditional sense. You were out on your own. You just had to make things happen that day. Like the timelines were like hours, minutes, not like weeks, months. It was just, you went out that day, covered an event. You had to get X amount of shots. And then you wanted to see where those shots would be. So you had to get stuff in the paper. And from that, I just went back, finished the master's, and then went straight into working as a freelance photojournalist. So did that for about 4 and 5 years. Did that all over. So did that in Ireland, mainly, UK, Europe, and then Middle East.
We touched on this before, which is fascinating. You were in Syria, I believe. So
yeah.
You saw sites of the world that no longer exist.
Absolutely, yeah. As sad as that is, like I was only thinking about that, and my friend, how I ended up over there is a friend of mine. He was a journalist. He is a journalist. He wanted to go to live in Beirut because it was kind of back then. That was kind of cool. Everything was kind of happening. That was kind of the nexus of everything. He couldn't get into Beirut, so he just literally ended up in Syria. And back then, it was seen as very progressive. It was seen as being Western facing. It was, education system was great. He was starting to modernize. Some Western companies were going there, and it was seen to be the bridge to the Middle East. It was seen to be the acceptable face of the Middle East, if you want to use that phrase. And I went there, spent a few months there, and just did some journalism work, and literally saw things that no one will ever see again, which is kind of bizarre when you think about it. Really, it's tragic, but it's bizarre. I mean, I'll never go there again in my lifetime, purely because you can't. It's bizarre. Even that was 5 years ago, maybe, and even in those 5 years, everything's changed. The world has changed. Syria has changed, and you definitely couldn't go there as a Westerner now. It's strange.
And I suppose all those different experiences you've had have helped mold you as a person and give you lessons that you have brought into your entrepreneurial business and Host Butlers, what you're doing now. And it's like, again, cliches, we keep hitting them. You learn most from your failures.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, look, you can either learn or you can be bitter and kind of get shameful about it. You can either learn and go, well, look, I made balls of that. At the time, it's going to sting. Make no doubt about it. At the time, it'll sting like hell. Be embarrassing, all the usual stuff. But you just have to get on with it. Like, you just have to get up, put on the big boy pants, and get on with it. Like, because, sure, what's the alternative? Like, if you want to do a 9 to 5, go do a 9 to 5. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, it's not the sexy fucking sitting on my laptop by the pool, which is the goal long term.
Yeah.
But like now, that's not it.
It's I suppose it's the Conor McGregor factor. Like,
Yeah,
it
it's the
doesn't
instant
happen.
success.
Yeah, it doesn't happen like that.
Everyone's
Rarely.
kind of, people see the instant success, and it's like tech firms. Everyone sees the Facebooks and the Twitters and the Instagrams and the Lemurs of the world
Oh, that's
making
a cheap plug there. Thank you.
I'm going to get you paid for the coffee for that.
Yeah.
But everyone sees, the 1%, and it's the same with entrepreneurs. Everyone sees like the sexy stories that, it's like those pre-rolls on YouTube. Give me 50 minutes, 50 seconds of your time. I'm going to tell you how to make 20 grand a week. It doesn't exist. No work, nothing worth earning comes cheap, as the old rolling off the cliches here. But like, there's no such thing as passive income. There's no such thing as, set it up and forget it. There's none of that. You know what I mean? And just people have a misconstrued interpretation of being an entrepreneur. It's like I was talking about earlier, loads of friends of mine now contact me going, thinking about starting my own business. How do I do it? And then you explain the ins and outs and the days and the stuff, and they're like, yeah, no, maybe I'll stick out the job another little while. It's a lot to be, there's a lot to be said for 60, 70 grand a year, company car, and insurance benefits. But I think it's either for you or it's not. You're either an entrepreneur or you're not. Now you can learn, you can be an accidental entrepreneur. You can just create something and it just takes off. But I think they're rare.
Yeah, and we touched on it earlier on how we met was the Wimp to Warrior thing, and you kind of mentioned it earlier on. So you starting a new business. You just got your new houseboat.
Yeah.
And then you decided to enter a 6-month training course, which is basically full-time training to become a cage fighter. And what was the mentality or the thought process behind that?
I still think back on it now and try to figure it out. I actually don't know. I'm trying to go back in those, because when you do stuff after, you look back and go, that was all a bit mad, wasn't it? You kind of go back and go, Jesus, not sure what I was thinking when I did that. It's kind of like you go out of your body for a while. Jesus, I don't know. I think I'd probably recharge the batteries. I recharged the entrepreneurial crazy batteries, and I was like, right, ready to go now. I was living in a nice apartment, and I decided to throw it all up in the air again and just start again. I don't know. I love challenges. I love being out of my comfort zone. I like learning. Weirdly as that sounds, I just like learning new things. I like pushing forward. I find everything, all the good stuff happens, and all my good achievements have happened when I've had good momentum. I find I'm kind of a person that has to keep going. My girlfriend equates it to she thinks it's like owning a golden retriever who has to be walked all the time. She's like, you just can't. Just relax. Just chill. Just relax. I find that anything good happens to me when I've got momentum up, because that just suits my mentality. It suits how I mentally feel. And I just have to have that kind of energy and that kind of momentum to bring me forward. I find when I'm doing loads of things, new doors open. You know what I mean? Like meeting you, new door opens. Doing MMA, met a few other people in that who I'm still very close with and doing different bits and pieces with still. And you never know where you're going with it. As long as you enjoy it and it's challenging you and you're having fun, I think you'll never know the serendipity of just meeting certain people at certain times in your life. You have to be open to that. You have to try stuff that's just completely not your thing.
Okay.
And MMA wasn't.
But how did the fight go for you? I'm sure people are dying to know.
Oh yeah, edge of the seat stuff. It was bizarre. Yeah, it was a really strange experience at the end. So we did the 6 months. And for people not familiar with Wimp to Warrior, so you do 6 months with how many people? 40 or 50 people start.
Did we have that many?
I think we had a lot at the start. I think it was about 40 to 45 maybe start. You do a 6 month training camp, and gradually people get weeded out or kind of just drop out, or injury, whatever happens. So you end up with about 30 people at the end, maybe not even. And then you're matched up to fight each other. So John Kavanagh matches everyone up to fight each other. You have a big fight night at the end. So that was grand. I was training away, getting in the mindset of like, right, this is who you're going to fight, great. And, you're just focused on it. It's all you focus on. It's bizarre even trying to get back into that mentality now. It's all you thought about. For me, I was doing the business and I was working really hard, but it was all I could think about. Am I eating right? Am I training right? Am I resting right? It was brilliant though, because I love that all-consuming. I love having one main goal. Like and I've actually struggled since I left Winter Warrior. After that, I had like a hangover for about 6 months, just when one big goal is taken away from you. I'm not sure if yours is the same. You can talk about it after, but I spoke to a lot of the lads on it after, and they're like, yeah, I had like a great sense of, not to be dramatic, nothingness.
Yeah.
They just had like a feeling of, what now?
Yeah.
Because I guess it's like people who go in the army. It's like you're not told what time to get up, told what time to, but you are more or less. You are be here at 6. We're going to train for an hour and a half. Then you should be. Your diet should be this.
The word you're looking for is structure.
Structure. Yes, but like that's it. And it's very hard to. A little sip of coffee there. It's very hard to be disciplined enough yourself. And I was talking to a personal trainer the other day, and he was saying one question he asks everyone who comes to him, going, "Why haven't you done this before? And what's stopping you just doing it yourself?" And it's a great question. Yeah. And I was like, I love that.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing stopping you. It's just that structure. But it's very hard, as you know. So we were up every day, and you had to be there, because if you weren't there, you felt you were missing out. Well, if I'm not here, fucking Shane is training, and fuck him. I could be. You could be fighting anyone at the end. Maybe me and you. It's a little bit out of your class at the time, but anyway.
No, I was afraid. The guy I wouldn't pick on in sparring.
But you just had that sense of belonging as well. I think and you had that feeling of, right, all work towards a common goal, but it's personal, but it's a shared goal. I've gone way off on a tangent there. The fight itself.
No, this is great content.
We need to hit the 50-minute mark. The fight itself, yeah. So I was building up to that. The week. So the fight was, let's say it's Saturday, and it's the Wednesday the week before. John Kavanagh messages me on Facebook to say that the chap I was due to fight had an accident at work, and he was out, and everything was off. So I was absolutely devastated. That was it. Fight over. 6 months training gone down the shitter effectively. Yeah. So basically got in touch with Richie Cranny, who's the overall owner of Winter Warrior in Australia, and he helped me out an awful lot trying to fix me up with a new opponent. He did a huge amount, and Andrew Brennan as well, who's actually on the Winter Warrior with us. The two of them just did Trojan work, like contacted guys in Australia, in the UK, Cork, Mayo. I remember being at one of my best friend's wedding in Kilkenny, and I literally was out in the garden walking around on the phone to like SPG in Mayo, going, it was like a weird blind date. I was like, I'm looking for someone in the age range of this with not too much experience. Can you help me? And they were like, no.
Yeah.
And it was just at that time whereby the regulations were getting very strict. So you had to have medicals, you had to have bloods, you had to be cleared by a doctor. So it wasn't exactly like I could just pull someone off the street. There had to be a very specific criteria in the weight class and the experience and in everything. So long story short, yeah, couldn't get anyone. So I was just devastated. So I just kept training away, and even went to the weigh-ins like an absolute loser, and like the guy who turns up in full kit for 5-a-side.
Going to the prom on your own.
Yeah, it was pretty much that. But like I went into the weigh-ins. I was weighing in for a fight that wasn't happening. It was I don't know. It was weird. Like I don't know why I did that. In hindsight, actually, that's a bit weird. So I did the weigh-ins, but there was no one to fight, so I just did it anyway. So right, I think it was actually Richie Green. I think it had been someone else as well, said, look, just not be ready. Jesus, it's not fucking Marines, but like, just keep going. Just mentally for yourself. Just always know you did absolutely everything. So it was great advice. I just did everything. So I ate well right up until the weigh-in. I did the weigh-in, and I was like, well, that's it, fucked. I went home to my missus, and I was just inconsolable. Is a little bit dramatic. I wasn't exactly weeping, but I was just like a demon, unbearable to live with. Like for those few weeks, which was unbearable. I just was just so angry. It was just anger because it was like 6 months. I've poured my heart into this, and it's just never going to end. And the fact that I'll never have my moment. But like, you know, you train to get into the cage, and mentally, it's to get into the cage. And Richie Cranny said that from day one. He goes, "You're not training to fight someone. You're not training this. You're training against yourself. You're training to get into that cage. Because once you've been in that cage, you've done something a tiny percentage of people on the planet will ever do, and you've proved something to yourself." So, longest answer to any interview question in history. That was it. I went home that night. I was like, right, that's it, done. I threw my gear into the bag, into a little backpack. Just threw it in the car. Got a taxi over because I was going to have a few beers, and some of the missus went. But I'd given out all my tickets to all my family and my friends and everyone, and I had to like ring them. It was just embarrassing. I had to go, yeah, there's no fight.
Yeah.
I think some of them thought I was just bullshitting them all along. I wasn't doing anything ever. I was just like, yeah, you can't come. It's all over. So no one was there. It was just me and my girlfriend, and just took a seat in the audience like a normal schmuck, and just had like
No, a bum.
a normal
in the fight game.
joker, like a civilian, and just sitting there, and literally Andrew Brennan, who was involved in an accident that week, couldn't fight either, and he was just sitting there and just devastated, literally just given a beer. And I was just about to drink the beer when Andrew Brennan was called over, but I think it was John Kavanagh or someone called him over, and he was like, one of the lads just failed his medical, he blew his blood pressure through the roof. Would Gary fight him? And
Would I?
And Andrew Brennan comes over. It was like a comedy moment, and Andrew Brennan came over. He's like, "Well, the lads have to fail his medical when you fight." And I was like, "Yes." He's like, "I haven't told you. You don't know who it is yet." I was like, "Yes, I will." So I put down the beer. I'm like, right, let's do it. And ended up, long story short, went in. I think he was 2 or 3 weight class. I think he had 15 kg on me or something in the end. A lot. Ironically, I'd cut weight for the fight and then ended up fighting 2 or 3 weight classes below. But anyway, yeah, look, lost the fight on decision at the end, but I was just so happy. I fucking hate losing. When I lose, I shouldn't tell this to the public, but like when I like play an Xbox and I lose, I freak out. I'm like, you motherfucker, and it's some 10-year-old in like Texas who's just beating you, and you're like, you fucking prick. Like, I have a little mini rage, but like, I was never so happy to be beaten at anything, because I was like, it was getting in.
I remember because the fight card was split into an early card and then the later card. You were on the early card, weren't you? And I remember arriving in. You were the head shaved at the time. You looked like a real gut.
I was trying to make myself any tiny way tougher.
And you were outside. I don't know, was it your missus you were with or someone?
Yeah.
And your face was all busted up, and the smile you had in your face from ear to ear. I was kind of like, he must have won. It's like, how did you get on? It's like, no, I lost. And I was like, he's absolutely delighted that he lost, but I was delighted for you because I knew everything, that longest answer anyone has ever given. I knew how you were feeling, so I was so happy for you. And I had an inkling because I almost didn't fight as well due to
you know what it was.
I know what it's like. So I was delighted for you, and well done. So I think we'll almost wrap up. What I'll finish with is, what advice would you have for anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur? Synopsis of basically what you said.
I won't give the Nike slogan. I think I gave that last time. It's just to do it. Like, I just did. No,
he just did it.
Edit that out. It's just to get going. Like, just start something. Like, it doesn't really matter. You know, you're not going to be wildly successful out the gates, but if you test the idea you have. Like, it might be that, but I've, like, as sad and all as it is, I have a book that I carry around me, and every day I write an idea into it. And some of them are absolutely nonsense, like absolute gibberish, never going to make any money. But I know in there somewhere there's a good idea, and I will start. At the minute, we're looking at a couple of new projects, and I will start a couple more and just start them. You know what I mean? They won't be generating me revenue from day one, but I will figure out which ones are working, because it's so easy to do it nowadays. It's absolutely, there's no excuse. There's absolutely zero excuse. That's why I think my tolerance level for people who are like bullshitting on, going, I'd love to be an entrepreneur, but there's zero excuse. You can set it up for buttons. I set Host Butters up for under €200. Like, I had zero cash, because I didn't want to blow a lot of my own money again. I deliberately set it up to be bootstrapped the entire way. I've never taken any outside funding. I've never taken a loan, and I'm proud of that fact because it can be done. There's no reason. There's very few businesses that can't be set up with a tiny 1% of what your overall goal is. Obviously, have a dream to be worth $1 billion, but start off by making €1,000 and then €2,000 and €3,000. Like, there's so many free tools. Like, I set up Postballers on Squarespace. That was like, I think, $14.99 a month. Just literally with a Google domain. GoDaddy domain is like what, $1.99 now, and then just literally the rest of it's work. And that's the bit that people don't want to do. Being honest, they can hide behind, don't have the time, I've got kids, I've got a mortgage, blah 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 blah. That's grand. All it is your time, really and truly. At the end of the day, that's all any of us have is our time, and what you put into it. So whatever your idea is, just pick the smallest part of it and prove the idea can work. Even if you make €2, you've proven the idea works, and just from there,
it's like getting into that cage.
That's it. One step at a time. How do you eat a whale? One bite at a time.
Yeah, exactly. So, just that blog you mentioned earlier on, if you want to, where can people get that?
Yeah, so they get on Medium. So they can get on Medium and go to Mr. Gary Fox, MR Gary Fox. They'll follow it there, or they'll get me on all the usual social channels, LinkedIn, Twitter.
And Instagram. You need to check this guy's Instagram. It's one of those motivational pictures there.
I'm going to get you to take a photo right now to plug this very thing.
Okay, Gary, absolute pleasure, and I'm sure we'll have you on Mono e Mono again in the future.
Thanks, Shane. Pleasure.